Hello and welcome to my session. I'm Henk Vlootman, coming from the Netherlands, and I'm a data platform MVP. I'm specialized in Power BI and in Power Platform. I used to be an Excel MVP. In this session, I'd like to take you with me in the amazing world of Power Query, the transformation language in Excel and Power BI. Just enjoy the ride, take a seat, and I'll hope you'll get new ideas to optimize your business. Thank you. So, what are we going to do in this session? For now, we're going to look at some of the hidden treasures of the M language. And if you look at the M language, we like to look at it in this way. If you look now, you can see that we have 5 layers for a business intelligence model. We have the connection to a source. We have the prepare, transform, cleans, combine data. After that, you always want to make calculations, you want to make business views, you want to do something like relations, you do that in the analyze section. You've got the visualization section, in which you are creating visualization based on your calculations. And you've got the share, where you want to share your insights to others. For now, we do the prepare section, and the prepare section is based on the fact that Power Query is lived in there. And here we are going to work in this session. So the next thing is what's on the menu in this session. Well, we want to talk a little bit about variables. We have global and local variables and why they are important. I want to look with you in the advanced editor. So what's script like? And then we're going to demo some force of the language, and we're going to hack the language. In this session, you're the one who's going to work with the language itself, not clicking, but just changing the script so that you get more out of your script than you ever had dreamed of. So let's start. So I like to start with getting used to something like what I call variables. And we got 2 types of variables. The first one is a local variable, and the second one is a global variable. A global variable is also called a parameter. And a parameter is something you need to keep in track, because it's basically containing a value, and in each query you have in your model you can use that value. And that creates one spot, one place where you can maintenance all kinds of data that will reflect automatically in all queries where it will be used. So we start with a global parameter, which is a parameter which can be found over here. If you look at this this is managing my parameters. So I want to create a parameter, and what do I want to have in that parameter? Well, I'll show you. I got imported 2 tables, and those 2 tables came from a SharePoint site, my SharePoint site. It's also over here. So, and if you look over here in my departments, you can see it's the same site. It has the same folder. So what I want to do is adding my URL to my folders into a parameter, and with that I can just change the URL if I change my data to another, if I move my data to another folder. And we can do that with a parameter, and what I need to do from that is that I just, from the first step over here, I need to have my URL. Now my URL here is something like this. I open a little bit, and as you can see, my URL will go to this part over here, all over here. But I don't need to have my name of my file with it. So to be very honest, this part over here, the name of my file, will stay as it is. But my URL to the folder, that's the one I like to have in a parameter. So I select it over here, this one, and I have my backslash with it. I copy it, and now I start to create a parameter. So I go to manage parameters, I said give me a new parameter. Here you are, and my parameter will be, and I have a prefix for it. Every parameter starts with a P, so that could be P path, and I know that it is a parameter. The value type will be a text. Here you are. And the current value will be my URL. And by saying OK with it, I now have created a parameter. Now I want to be tidy in all my queries. If you start working with Power Query, you know that you got a lot of queries within no time. So I'll start by moving this to a group, and I create a new group, and it will be 1 parameters, like this. And now I just created, let's say, a folder in which all my parameters will come if I need to have more parameters. So having made this parameter over here, this one, I now can use this in my queries. The best thing I can do is I can type it, I can change this, but if you're not familiar with it, you can use the gear over here. And as you can see, I now get into the first step, my source, and I just click on advanced, and I want this text to be the name of my Excel file. That would be my second text. For my first text, I select a parameter, and since I got one with a text with a path in it, it selects for me the path. And if I've done it right, and I click OK, everything will stay the same. As you can see, I'll get everything I want. So if I go to just some departments, I want to have this one as well. So I click on the gear, again advanced, say these are my departments, XLSX, and this should be my parameter, ppath. You can see it, ppath departments. As you can see, it will change my my code and use ppath without double quote as being a parameter, a global variable, and adds departments with it. So I'm done. What I'd like to do now is if I go to just some text, and you can see I got a department number and I got something with just some departments. And what I'd like to do over here is merge my departments to my text, and that is a fairly standard operation in Power Query, and you like to do it a lot of times. I will not dive into it because I think it's something you need to know if you're just doing Power Query. And if you don't know, you find videos on the internet which help you to do the mergings. If I got merge queries, I start with my just some text. It's this one, and I want to merge it with my departments. That's what I want, and I got this department connected to that department, and as you can see over here, it has created a selection which matched every row in the first table, so that's fine. Okay, now if I say keep in mind this is a table with 104,000 rows. Okay, that will be something we need to have later on. I just extract these some departments over here. I don't want the original column name as prefix, so I keep everything and I'll take every column I have. And now I have just created a table with all kinds of information together. One of the things you like to do with this kind of stuff is just some departments is now completely added to my just some text table. So this table over here is one of the tables I don't want to use. I don't want to have it loaded because I don't need it anymore, but I need it to have it for merging with just some text. So the first thing I like to do is that I move it to a group. I'll create a new group for it. It's not a parameter, but it's what they call a staging table. And a staging table is a table that you need to have in order to get your queries in the correct order, but you don't want to load it. So if it's now on the staging one, I just start with typing an S in front of it, because then I know it's a staging table by just seeing the prefix. And by right click on my queries, I can enable load. Now it's italic like my parameters, so my parameters will also not be loaded. And I need to have include in report refresh, because this file needs to be refreshed when I do a refresh, but I don't want to see it in my Power BI model. So now let us look a little bit closer to what we have created in those 5 applied steps we've done. And you can do that by going to the advanced editor, and you can find the advanced editor for instance in your tab home. Here's the advanced editor, or maybe you like to go to the view you have over here. In my view I also have the possibility to show the advanced editor. My way of doing it is getting to my query, right click on it, and there you find your advanced editor as well over here. And using the advanced editor means that you're able to look inside your code. Here we go, and this is my code. And as you can see, you can read it out. It's a bit difficult now to see because it's not it's scrolling out of my window, but let's see what we can do. We merge the queries, and that's table nested join. That will do it by itself. And he says, well, you use the just departments, and then you can see that it has all the kinds with it. I use dep as and that number as being the 2 columns I use for my merge, and I use a kind left outer. And when I extract it, I get my table expand, and in the table expand you can see that I have 2 times the same description. One of the things which is usual with this kind of recording is that it will record hard the column names, for instance. But why twice? Well, it has to do with these are the names that are in my just some departments file, and these are the names that I have created from it. So it will now have the same names, but if I change manager over here and say, well, it's not a manager, but it's something like a director, and if I say done over here, you can see that the manager is now a director. So I'm able to use the code to change a name. That's nice. I don't need another step to change my name. I just change my name over here and it will be fine. But what happens if I say, well, I don't take second part? So I'll just skip it. I'll just throw it away like this. And as you can see, nothing changed, except that manager is again manager. So without having the second number of column names, it will just use the column name that it finds in my just some department name and add those to this section. So can I just say that my just some departments might have a change in column names or in change in column number, well, then my query will not work. Because if my department name changes in just some departments in department, it will not find that name and it cannot edit, so that column will not be in our system, in our listing. So for now, let's see if we can adjust this a little bit and create a local variable in which we store the names of the columns that we find in the as just some departments. Right, now let's have a look. What we like to do is look at what we have over here, and in this case every query starts with a let and ends with an in, and in between I can add all kinds of stuff. So I can, for instance, here add something like this. And what I'm saying over here, that I will create some local variables, and the local variable will be called depth columns, and it will be using the table column names from my as just some departments. And if I add this one like this, and I look at my steps, the first step now is my depth column. As you can see, that's just a list of the of all my column names, my headers from my just some departments. I will not do anything with it because it's just created and I've not edited to it, so it will still be like this. But if I go now to my advanced editor and say, and I look over here and I look at my last part, I say, well, hold on, I don't need this one. This is just a list you created. I want my depth columns to be added on it, like this. And if I say, so now I created my depth columns over here, like this, and I use it in a script over here. And if I say done, you will see that it exactly works as it should be, but it adds all the column names. Now maybe I'm just now interested in just getting myself a little bit more in the columns I like to select from this. So maybe I can adjust my local variable a little bit and add local parameter or local variable, which will give me the column names I like to have. So the second thing I do is that, and I will do it by typing now, is I create something which is select my columns of my department, and I can create a list of it. And the list that I like to have in it is, this will always start with curly brackets. I want to have my department column. I don't want to have that one. And the next thing I want is that I don't want to have my manager over here. I'll need to manager with it. And the last one I think is that I don't want my department name. Be aware that Power Query uses context sensitive characters. So if I do an uppercase name, this one will not be found in my column names because it's just not the same characters. Now let's see what I have when I say done, and I'm not quite done because it will not work. I need to find a comma behind it, like this, and I say done, and now I got two parameters. The one is the depth column, that's this one, and it uses table columns, and another one I created myself. It's this one. And what I like to do now is just change a little bit in my advanced editor, so that this select column department will be incorporated in my depth columns. So we go to the first parameter. Be very careful, because now I have selected it. The name, it's light blue, and I don't want it, so I'll just step a little bit around it. And I want to have list difference. There we go. And I want to have a list difference between my table, this one, and at the end, yeah, well, where do I want to compare it with? With my select column. And there you are. No, that's not a good one. Select column. I need to type it correctly. Columns depth. And why doesn't this help me? Because I don't enter a end bracket. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm use this line, which uses my select column depth local variable, which has the column names I don't want to see. One of the things which is exceptional over here is I'm now using a variable, and I declare that variable after the row I will call it, but it will still find it. It doesn't need to be exactly the first one and then the second one. No, it just finds them in the total listing. I could use the select column depth everywhere before the in, and then it will find it. So having said this, what happens over here? I think if I'm doing like this, and now as you can see, I only got those columns that are not the same in each other. It just looks at the difference. So I got country and weight as the two ones will be added. And if there's another column added at my just some departments, it will be added in this merge as well, because it's not in my select columns department variable. So what I like to do now is to go to my text column, this one, and just want this column be split by each space I have. So if we look at the first one, you can see that this one is just one word. There's no space in it. And looking over here, I got 3. And looking over here, I got 2. So what I like to do is to split this column based on my space. And you should say, well, that's easy, because you can do it right now. If I do it now, at this moment on this column, this column will be changed in as much columns as necessary with the words in it, and then I will lose this column. So the first thing I like to do is to go to text, add a column, and duplicate the column, so that I keep my original as it is, and I can start working with my text copy. And the easiest way to do this is to go to my Home tab, split a column, and split it by the limiter, and you will say, well, I think it's a space, and it would be in every occurrence of the delimiter. Yes, I want it. And if I say OK, you got a result, and it added 7 columns with it. That means for now, my longest number of words in this column has 7 words. Now the next part what we're going to do is we're going to look at what does this now look in my advanced editor. Before I do that, I get for free a change type. I don't want it. I want just split the column by the delimiter. So I'll remove the change type. My last step will be split column by the delimiter. And now let's see what happens in the advanced editor. And as you can see, it just add those column names on it. It's a fixed number of columns, and that's one of the things which is normally if you just record your things in some way. You can do it in VBA and you can do it over here. The recorder will always try to get the safest possibility, and that means that he adds column names, for instance, hard-coded, and we don't need those. Let's see what we can change in here. If I go like this and I select my string, as you can see, again, this is a list of all the column names, and I select them and say that I change them into 10. What happens next? Well, let's see done. And as you can see now, I got 10 columns. So instead of naming the columns, I can say I want to have the number of columns. Well, that's nice. So as you can see, I can change it over here, and if I change this 10 into 7, it will be fine as well. And then I just got 7 columns, as you can see, not 10 anymore. I got my change type with it, so I'll remove that one. So let's see, now we have changed it, and there's something else in it, because at this moment I really don't know whether or not the number of columns I needed are in here. So is there a way that I can find the number of spaces? And yes, there's an easy way to do it. So now I have split my column, as you can see in my last step. But let's go one column above, like this. And the first thing I like to do is just click on it, rename it, and remove the space between duplicated column. And I will tell you later why I will do this. So I'm here, and just have my text copy column with me. And what do I want to know? I want to extract from my text in my add column, and I want to extract the length, this one. And what does that mean? It means that I get a column, and in that column all my the length of all my characters, values will be stated in it. And that's the first step. So we can take it over here and we say extract length. And he said, well, you're in between steps. Do you want to have it? Yes, I want to have it. So I'll add this one inside it. And as you can see now, I got a length of my text. That will not be enough because those are all my characters and I just want to select some characters. So going back to the advanced editor and looking at my text over here, and then you can say, well, we're looking at this column. This is the column. And especially we look at this one, the text length. And it says, well, give me the text length of my text copy column. Yes, here we go. So I click before this and I want to have a text dot select, this one, and that will open my text copy, for instance. But if I at the back of it and I add a comma, I can add the characters he needs to count. And what I want to have, I want to have space. So with using the text select with it, I can add a space. I'm not quite correct because I need to add another closing bracket. So my text length will be done. And if I do it like this and I say done, and you look at the step before, you can see that I got my text length over here. It's still a little bit of surprise, but it's not correct. It will add every space. So in this word there's no space, that's 0, but it's one word. And this has 2 spaces, but 3 words. That means in the text I have over here, I need to add a little bit. So I go back to the advanced editor and I look at my column over here, and after this column I say, well, this is what you want to say, and add one with it. And by doing this one, it's create for me the inserted text length. This one. That's nice. So from this inserted text length, I really want to know what is the max of this column. So I've selected strength, and now I go to transform, and within the transform I can get my statistics from number of column, and in there I find maximum like this. So I'll take the maximum, and he says, yeah, do you want to insert a break? Yes, it can break, so I insert this one, and I got a calculated maximum, and you can see it's 9. Huh? I thought I had 7. Yes, but the 7 were made on my first 1,000 rows, because that's the preview. And if I split it, he says, well, I got 1,000 rows, I'll split those, and I need 7 columns for it. The practice will be that in the rows below there is a longer line, a line with more words, so I need to have 9 columns. Well, knowing this, I know another thing. As you can see over here, my query is broken. If I go to split column by delimiter, he says, yeah, well, I cannot convert type 9 to type table. So for this, we have to adjust a little bit in the code, and we're going to do that now. So let's go to the advanced editor, and here you are again. And now some things are interesting. One of the things I like to show is the fact that when I don't use a space in the name of my applied steps, it will not need the hash and the double quotes on it. So if you want to make your code a little bit more readable, as you can see, it will be over here as well. You try to avoid spaces. Yes, but if you create just steps, normally it will just be with the space, and then you need your double quotes and your hash. One of the things you might be interested in is that if you look at my local variables over here, that I deliberately don't use a space in it. Otherwise, I am forced to use the hashtags and the double quotes. And this is a bit easier to work with. So, here we are. We did all the things we did over here, and this one will give me my max, this line. And what's happening over here is that if you look at the calculate maximum, this one, so if I go from from this one to this one, and here it breaks. And it has to do that the moment that I got this number over here, I calculate maximum, then I got I got here an error because that column doesn't exist anymore. So what you need to do is that if you look at this, we duplicate our column over here, and then we add something like insert text length and calculate maximum. So if I say, well, I got my duplicate column over here, this one, and I copy it and I paste it over here like this. Now I say, well, you got to do two things. You take this step, and with that step you create the tag length, and from this step you go to the other one and go to the last one. So I got now 3 instances of, and now it's just in the way, of my duplicate column. So it's over here. Let's do it again like this. It's over here, it's over here, and it's over here. And what happens next is that if I say done and I go over here and I go here, and you can see it will work because it just skipped those 2 steps it duplicates the column, it inserts the tag length, it calculates the maximum, and then it did my splitting. And to be quite sure how to work it, I can look at in my advanced editor and look at my listing, and now I got a calculate maximum, and that one is now just a number, and you can see that as a local variable. So if I take this one over here with the double quote on it and I copy it, and instead of those 7 over here, I will copy my calculated maximum in it. I should have deleted my space, and that is just something that not always works like this. Now if I say done over here and you look over here, and now you can see I got my 9 columns. And the number of columns will now be adjusted to the number of spaces what are in this line. So working in the advanced editor gives the advantages that you're more flexible and use more of calculated elements in your script. So the last section I like to do with you is just do something with this column width over here. And this column width has a ABC 1 to 3. That means it has no data type, it's unknown. And it has to do with the fact that I got text in it and I got numbers in it. And I like to calculate with it. And what I like to do is just find the number of words, and I will multiply it with the number which it has given on this scale. And in French they said 1, and here it's 1.5. I can change, of course, the 1 into a number 1, and then make this column a whole of a decimal number, and that will work. But maybe there are other other words that are words and not 1, and then it will just give me an error, and I don't like that. So what I like to do is find a way if I can check by line if it's correct, and if it's not correct, then I like to change it to the value 1, just number 1. It's something like an if formula in Excel. If it will work, if it returns true, it will do one argument, and if it returns another one, something else, it will do the other. In this case, we'll try and look for an error, and if there's an error, we have the calculation in a different way. But before I can do this, I find that I created a tag length step, so this one, and that's nice because the text length thing gives me the length of the words in it, so I like to have that. But when I started to calculate my maximum and then split my column by delimiter, then I just in my table I just skipped that insert text length, and maybe I'm able to bring it back by rerouting the steps of my script. So let's make it a little bit easier. I start with insert text length, and I start with rename it. So I'll get my spaces out of it, delete someone over here and delete one over there, and then I go to calculate maximum and do the same over here and say from, hold on, that's too much, this one, right click, rename, and get this one out of it. So by doing this, I'll create a little bit more insight in my script. And what I can do over here is that now I go to my advanced editor, and now you can see that all my last steps are here beautiful laid down. And so what we see over here is that if you look at my duplicated column, it will just go to this one and to this one. And as you can see, then this one will trigger my calculate max, and then go to my duplicate column, effectively skipping those two lines. And what I like to do now is that my table split will not be based on my duplicate column, but it should be based on my inserted text length, like this one. So if I copy this one and put it instead of this step, then if I'm done over here, you'll see that I'll keep that column with me. So now I can use this column to add another column in which I divide my weight, or multiply my weight by my length. Well, let's do it. It's quite easy. I go to add column, I do a custom column, and I say, well, this is my average words, like this, and my custom column is the following one. I want to have my weight, and I want to multiply my weight with my length, like this. And okay, here we go. And I got a beautiful column. And here you see errors. And I can click on it, but you know what the error will be. It's not a number. It says 1 over here and not a number. So I like to adjust it a little bit, and I can do that by changing the code. So here we go. And here we are again in the advanced editor. Again, we're talking about this little piece over here. And since my weight will not always be a number, I got a little problem over here. So the each in this sentence means that it will take each row. It will evaluate each row. So that's nice. So the each I want to have, but I want to add something. And what I can add over here is the word try. And as you can see, it's not quite typically mentioned in my list, but what I want to do, what I do with this is that it just tries it. And what does it try? Well, I need to place my width in the length, like this one. That's okay. Don't forget to change it at the end. And if it's not that I need to type otherwise, what do you do if it's otherwise? Well, then I say I'll take 1, multiply that with my length, and it's just like this one, length 30. This will not work because it's an uppercase length. And now I'm quite well going for it. I can add a little bit on it. This one needs my double with this one, because I know now that it would be the type number, because that's the type what's going on with it. I end it with this one. And so what I'm saying over here, for each row, try the width multiplied by the length. If it returns an error, then you take the 1 with the length. Now if I've done this one, as you can see now, everything is fine and it's become a number. So this was my session. I hope you enjoyed it and hope you learned a little bit about it. I wish you all the good luck in the future. Hope to see you somewhere again.